he thought the meetings went well, but then posted that he had incredible support, but that the momentum was strong, but it was just becoming a big distraction.
And I do not intend to take the oath of office for the same office in the 119th Congress to pursue the position of Attorney General in the Trump administration. Signed sincerely, Matt Gaetz.
He put his loyalty to the president first. He said, I don't want to be a distraction to this administration and getting the work done that President Trump needs to get done, and I'm going to withdraw my name. And I think a lot of people agree with this decision.
Matt Gaetz is out. A big surprise. Matt Gaetz had just come off a successful trip to Capitol Hill. He was meeting with senators. The Ethics Committee in the House of Representatives had decided that they were not going to release the report. And we thought, okay, we were in for a fight. Going to be a big one, but we were looking forward to it. In front of the Senate Judiciary Committee so that they could make their claim as to why Matt Gaetz was not qualified, but people like Merrick Garland are. People like Lisa Monaco are. And we wanted to get into it, but now, not going to happen. Matt Gaetz posted this. Trump has responded, and we got two questions we're trying to answer here today. One, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Was Gaetz pushed out? Was Gaetz a shiny object in the first place that we speculated he could have been from the very beginning? Well, that's an interesting one. He'll draw a lot of the fire. He'll draw a lot of the ammunition. You'll squeeze through Tulsi, RFK, Kristi Noem, and the list goes on because all the attention was on Gaetz. So that was one possibility. Maybe Gaetz is just recognizing that there's just too much firepower here and he doesn't want to be a distraction, and so we can take him at his word and just say, well, it's a little bit too much and he doesn't want to deal with it, and he wants this administration to not have this political aggression surrounding it. There could be other possibilities. There could be more to the story that he doesn't want to come out, and so maybe he's trying to withdraw from this. So we're trying to answer that question. And number two, what happens to Gaetz next? Is he going to go back to Congress? Is he going to be appointed to Senate? Can he go back to Congress? Some people say yes, others say no. So we'll answer those. But here's what Gaetz said. Now, I had excellent meetings with senators yesterday. That's what we thought. I appreciate their thoughtful feedback and the incredible support of so many. While the momentum was strong, Matt Gaetz says, it's clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. There is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I'll be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one. Gaetz says, I remain fully committed to see that Donald J. Trump is the most successful president in history. I will forever be honored that President Trump nominated me to lead the Department of Justice, and I'm certain he will save America. So this is what the president said in response. Trump posted this on Truth. Caroline Leavitt, the incoming press secretary, has explained and shared this for us. The president said, I greatly appreciate the recent efforts of Matt Gaetz in seeking approval to be Attorney General. He was doing very well, but at the same time did not want to be a distraction for the administration, for which he has much respect. Matt has a wonderful future, and I look forward to watching all of the great things he will do. Very short and sweet statement from the president. And what we've heard is that Gaetz called Trump. Here was what was being reported over on Fox. In other words, Trump did not call Gaetz.
You guys always seem to get all the breaking news, right, on America Report. So this brand new news breaking just moments ago on social media, and we're trying to see exactly what's going to happen here in Palm Beach, Florida at Mar-a-Lago, where the Trump transition team is working hard as this all just came out. I just got off the phone a short time ago with a member of the Trump transition team who was telling me they want to make something very clear here, that they say former Representative Matt Gaetz came to this conclusion on his own to drop out. Okay, so that just coming into our newsroom a short time ago. They say, though, in this post, according to the former president and now President-elect Trump, this: I greatly appreciate the recent efforts of Matt Gaetz in seeking approval to be Attorney General. He was doing very well, but at the same time did not want to be a distraction for this administration, for which he has much respect. Matt has a wonderful future, and I look forward to watching all of the great things he will do. But this comes, as Chad was explaining, after he seemed pretty optimistic just yesterday. I mean, it was just hours ago out there in Capitol Hill, walking around the Capitol Hill area in those hallways with a smile on his face, saying that he thought the meetings went well, but then posted that he had incredible support, but that the momentum was strong, but it was just becoming a big distraction. So distraction seems to be the name of the game here as this Attorney General pick kind of came to the surface. What's going to be next? I asked the Trump transition team about that. Well, since the news only broke about 20 minutes ago, they're still trying to figure out what's going to be next in terms of a short list and going through more and more interviews. Before Gaetz, though, we know Senator Mike Lee, a Republican of Utah, he was named as one of the top possible picks. Also, John Ratcliffe, a former director of national intelligence. Gaetz. So there's some other names that are rolling into the newsroom. But back out here live, the Trump transition team telling Fox News moments ago that former Representative Matt Gaetz came to this conclusion on his own. They say it was not forced. It was just becoming such a huge distraction that he made this decision. So now back to the drawing board we go, and that drawing board is at Mar-a-Lago, where the former president is working hard.
All right, so interesting dynamic. Trump's not saying it's too much pressure for us. Trump is going to be behind him regardless. Matt Gaetz said, how about we just pull the ejection cord and get on out of here? Now, there was this story breaking simultaneously, and so some people are saying, well, maybe one thing is that there's truth to the story, and this is the problem, is that this is just going to continue to keep coming and compound day after day after day. So here's the exclusive from CNN. They said that the woman who says that she had intercourse when she was a minor said she had 2 other encounters with him at a party. The woman who was underage testified the second encounter, which had not been reported, included another adult woman, and both encounters were in a civil deposition. Okay, and we talked about this yesterday. We went through Gaetz's entire defense, essentially, and it was quite compelling that the people who are the subject of these claims were lying, and they were coerced to lie by the person who's in custody, or was in custody, and trying to get his sentence reduced because he had some very problematic images on his PC. Okay, so he's going away for a long time. So he needed to give them something, and this is the same DOJ that's responsible for prosecuting our J6ers, Trump, Bannon, Navarro, and everybody else, the Catholics, and more. So after being asked for comment, right, so CNN is saying, we reached out to him about this new claim. Then Gaetz announced that he was backing out. Gaetz has denied this repeatedly. Gaetz and Trump were working to lock down support. The other woman, who was an adult at the time, denied participating in the second encounter, okay, according to multiple sources. The other woman, who was an adult, denied it! Thank you for that. The Justice Department closed its investigation of Gaetz last year after prosecutors recommended that no criminal charges be brought against him. Thank you for bearing the lead. The House Ethics Committee revived its investigation of the Florida lawmaker once the DOJ concluded its case. They couldn't prosecute him. CNN admits it. They're like, well, there's a whole nother claim. So they're using this as the basis to say this is why Gaetz ejected. But here's Kaitlan Collins, very short clip.
One senior Republican on the Judiciary Committee, which will vet Gaetz, is revealing what he told him during their meeting with Senator John Cornyn, telling CNN that he warned, quote, everything's eventually going to come out.
Okay, Matt Gaetz put a pretty extensive explanation that we covered here yesterday, and I'm gonna guess that the stuff is still gonna come out. Somebody's gonna leak this stuff at some point in time, so the idea that Matt Gaetz is escaping any follow-up on this, I think, is unrealistic, because they're not gonna let up on it. So that is their basis for all of this. We've got reaction from Ronna and some other senators coming up in a second, but what is gonna happen next for Gaetz? Now, he's not gonna be in front of the Senate, being cross-examined by everybody. Is he gonna return back to the House of Representatives? Is that even possible? Seen a lot of conversation about this today, and I thought it was a great question. Didn't know much about it. Saw it from Nick Sortor. I think Jack Posobiec has also mentioned it, and others, saying, hello, Gaetz only resigned from the 118th Congress. That's this one. But he was just elected to serve in the next one, which begins in January. And so he still, if he wants to be, representative-elect, right? That's the argument. Oh, that's pretty clever. Is that how this works? Well, we remember that when they came out and did the resignation reading, this is what it sounded like.
The chair lays before the House of Communications.
The Honorable the Speaker, House of Representatives, sir. I hereby resign as a United States Representative for Florida's 1st Congressional District, effective immediately, and I do not intend to take the oath of office for the same office in the 119th Congress to pursue the position of Attorney General in the Trump administration. Signed sincerely, Matt Gaetz, Member of Congress.
Under Clause 5D of Rule 20, the chair announces to the House that in light of the resignation of the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gaetz, the whole number of the House is 433.
Okay, so resigned unequivocally from, just parse that statement. I resign from this Congress. So effective immediately, it's done. And I do not intend to run for the next, or to take the oath in the next Congress. Okay, but that's just intention. That's waffle language, man. That's squirrely language there. Oh, so your intentions change. It happens all the time. Now, others are saying that's enough. Just because he said, I do not intend to, that's enough. This person came out, Derek T. Mueller, and he's a professor of law in maybe North Dakota, election law, federal courts, and so on. Mueller rhymes with duller. Says, Gaetz's resignation letter to DeSantis notes, he says, quote, he does not intend to take the oath of office for the same, okay? He said that in writing as well, not just in the writing to Congress, but also to Ron. Pursuant to longstanding House precedent, he says that's enough to trigger a vacancy. He can't take office on January 3rd, says this guy. Now let's see. Here's the letter. So he wrote, resignation, or this is in the official recording, resignation from the House of Speaker of Representatives. The Speaker pro tem laid before the House the following resignation from the House of Representatives. Representatives. Honorable Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, I hereby resign as United States Representative for Florida's 1st Congressional District, effective immediately. And I do not intend to take the oath of office for the same office in the 119th Congress to pursue the position of Attorney General in the Trump administration. But since he is no longer pursuing that position, it's invalidating of the basis for his original intention. Respectfully, Matt Gaetz. Now, then he sent this one to the governor. This one goes to Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. Dear Governor DeSantis, I hereby resign as United States Representative for the 1st District, effective immediately, same letter, and I do not intend to take the oath of office for the same office to pursue the position of Attorney General. He's no longer pursuing that, so his intentions have changed. If he wants. We don't even know what Matt Gaetz wants. Does he want to go back to Congress? Who knows? But that's what the letter says, right? Intent, 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 and intentions can change. So he also referenced this. He says, this is what the rule says. A member-elect may resign, is what this says, before taking the oath. So now he resigned from the 118th. That was unequivocal. I hereby resign, effective immediately. Done, over, case closed. I will not take the oath in the 119th. He did not say that. So they give us some parallel cases. They say a member-elect having resigned, the House decided that the person elected as his successor was entitled to the seat. So they very early found the law of Parliament inapplicable when it comes to resignation. So here's a little backstory. Rewind the clock back to 1791, the founding days of America, November 9th. The Speaker of the House laid before the House a letter from the governor of Maryland. Enclosing a letter to him from William Pinckney, a member returned to serve in this House from Maryland, and it contained his resignation of his appointment. Also a return of John Francis Mercer, elected a member, to serve in the House in place of Pinckney. They came into the House. This Congress had organized. It sounds like Mr. Pinckney did not appear, and so he didn't qualify. And so they debated this. Wait a minute. He got elected, but then this guy resigned, and we sent this report in, and so all this is happening. So they brought it in. They debated this in the House of Representatives. It was urged on one side that they use the British Parliament rule. They said, no, in Britain, you can't permit resignations. This is ridiculous. You can't resign. You just got elected. You can't resign. Should be adhered to. And on the other, they said, well, why are we doing what the British did? We just beat the crap out of them. And there being no analogy between the House of Representatives, they said the Constitution doesn't say anything about prohibiting resignation. So we can allow people to resign if they want to. And it should be concluded that a member may resign if they want. Now, doubt was expressed during the debate, however, as to whether the present case should be termed a resignation. So they debated that. Can you resign or not? You're allowed to do it. So it appears on November 23rd, the House adopted the resolution. And the resolution was as follows. They debated it. They said, it appears that at an election held for the state of Maryland in October 1st, 1790, William Pinckney was duly elected as a representative for that state to serve in the House, that the certificate of his election had been duly transmitted by the executive and was reported. Then he resigned. He won. They get the appointment. He resigns. And that in the consequence of the resignation, the governor then filled the vacancy, right? So he resigns, empty seat, governor fills the vacancy. It's kind of like Matt Gaetz right now, and have certified that John Francis Mercer was duly elected by virtue of a writ. So the governor substitutes him in, and that was allowed. And so it is the opinion of this committee that John Francis Mercer is entitled to take the seat in the House as one of the representatives for the state of Maryland in the stead of William Pinckney. Okay, that's fine. Like, that's great that all this happened. So he's specifically, it looks like, resigning unequivocally for this incoming position. Matt Gaetz intended to. So it's not exactly apples and oranges. And let's say the real hypothetical would be, what if Pinckney came back and said, you know what, actually, I want that position back. But by the way, this is also not the same. Okay, we're trying to compare apples and oranges here. They're trying to say that this means that Gaetz can't go back. Ron DeSantis hasn't appointed anybody yet. Ron DeSantis hasn't appointed John Francis Mercer. So we're distinguishing this case. This example is being used as evidence that Matt Gaetz cannot go back. Well, Ron DeSantis hasn't filled the seat. The seat is still vacant. And he hasn't unequivocally confirmed he's not going to be taking the oath. He just said he intended to not take the oath. So I think that that is still open, actually. That case is not dispositive of it. In both his letters, he sent intent. And if Matt Gaetz wants to go back, I think there's a legal argument for it. Now, you might say it's maybe not the right political argument because he resigned, and it's kind of like take back seats, like, well, you said you were leaving. Well, now I want to stay. But we understand what the basis was. So they asked a representative about this. This is a congressperson. Here's what he says. He's in Congress.
I know this was a Senate matter taking up these cabinet choices of the president-elect, but Matt Gaetz, as you know, your colleague from Florida, stepped out of this contest. I don't know what he's going to do. Could he conceivably return to the House?
Oh, I think so, Neil, because I think it's hard to resign from a Congress that isn't in session yet. And that's the 119th Congress, which he's been elected to. So I think that in order for the Speaker to accept a resignation, it's probably going to have to be the Speaker speaker that elected in the 119th. Mike Johnson will be the speaker in the 119th, but we're currently in the 118th. So anything's possible. This is Washington nil. Expect the unexpected. That's how I look at it, but I think the time will still tell.
Interesting, huh? Yeah, and here's another great point here from Will H. Will H says, you know, I respectfully disagree, Rob. I believe that in accordance with the 1791 decision, the man who was elected to that position to fill Matt's spot is Matt. So you can splice it that way too. I love it. It's brilliant, right? So it's like in the comparison that we were just trying to compare the case against the other case, looking at this here, it would almost be like if Pinckney was subbing in Mercer, you just replace Pinckney subbing in Pinckney again. He's subbing himself in. It's just Pinckney subbing Gaetz back in. So we'll see. Now, it sounds like the House is open to it. If that representative, Jason Smith, and others are open to it, it's the House's rules in many ways, right? Are they going to allow him to be seated? And will Ron exercise appointment power or fight any of this if Matt Gaetz wants to go back? We'll see. We'll have to wait and see what Gaetz says about it. Does Gaetz even want to go back to Congress? We haven't heard that yet. So we've got reaction on this. We got Ron Johnson's here, and here's what he said when he was on with Fox this afternoon.
It's time for Donald Trump to put forward a serious nominee for Attorney General who will fight for equal justice for all Americans. Your thoughts, your reaction to that, Senator Johnson?
Well, again, what Durbin would like is somebody from the good old boys club, and that's what Trump had in his first term, and he realized that within the Department of Justice, the FBI, other agencies, there were people, deep state actors, that undermined, in some cases, sabotaged his administration. So he's had 4 years to contemplate that. He's coming in far more wary, much more aware, and, you know, listen, I love the pick, for example, of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to head up the Department of Government Efficiency.
To the moon.
Again, the sitting outside the government. These people are going to push the envelope, and they're going to be making suggestions and recommendations that President Trump needs the secretaries to implement, to have the courage to engage in the battle. It's not going to be easy. You know, I'm old enough to remember Bill Clinton say the era of big government is over. Sure. No, it's not. It has expanded almost exponentially. They're not going to go quietly in the night. So this is going to be a pitched battle. President Trump needs warriors inside these departments and agencies.
You better believe it, he does. And he's got a nice crew on deck. We're looking forward to the current list of appointments coming in. And so here was a little bit from CNN, and they're doing their report. They brought on Ronna Daniels.
I think the numbers weren't there. He came here, he met with senators, they started doing the math.
McDaniel.
It was becoming a distraction. This was dominating the news. We were seeing the drip, drip, drip. And he did what I think is the right thing. He put his loyalty to the president first. He said, I don't want to be a distraction to this administration and getting the work done that President Trump needs to get done, and I'm going to withdraw my name. And I think a lot of people agree with this decision.
You were around, and I'm sure you had encounters with Matt Gaetz as the chair of the party. Just kind of taking a step back, the idea that he made some enemies in the House.
She hates Gaetz and Trump and Republicans so much she can't even hide it. It's emanating from her pores. You had some encounters? Like, relax, lady. Golly.
And the United States Senate. How did that play into this?
Yeah, I think it was hard for some of these senators and others. You know, he trolled them. He went after them. He wasn't going to win a congeniality contest. And then suddenly he's in a position where he's saying, I need your support and I need your vote. The one thing I can say about Matt Gaetz is he is unequivocally loyal to Donald Trump. And he always has been. He's been steadfast.
Good. That's why we wanted him in the AG's office. We're tired of the institutional loyalists, the people who are committed to the deep state over their country. Enough of them. We're tired of them. So Matt Gaetz, we'll see what is next for him, but will not be the AG's office as it stands. Other senators weighing in. Tom Tillis says, I respect Matt Gaetz's decision to withdraw and appreciate his desire to ensure the success of President Trump's transition. Priority number one for the new Senate GOP majority is to confirm Trump's team as quickly as possible when we take back the gavels in January. So that's good news. Lindsey Graham said, I respect former Representative Matt Gaetz's decision to withdraw his name from consideration and appreciate his willingness to serve at the highest level of our government. He is very smart and talented and will continue to contribute to our nation's well-being for years to come. I look forward to working with President Trump regarding future nominees to get this important job up and running. And here was another clip from other senators. They're saying that guess who's coming up next? Soon as they took Gaetz out, they're going to just refocus their sights on Pete Hegseth, who is going to be the Secretary of Defense. And they're already ramping up these allegations. You're seeing more and more headlines emerge.
Trump team should have done a better vetting job.
Well, the more you do up front, the less you have to do on the back end.
I think this nomination is doomed. It should never have been made. It was never vetted.
And Dana, just moments ago, Pete Hegseth emerged in the hallways of the Capitol and spoke to reporters about these meetings and about these allegations and said said, as far as the media is concerned, I'll keep this very simple. The matter was fully investigated and I was completely cleared. That's where I'm going to leave it. The question, though, is that enough? Win over 51 senators, really 50 Republican senators, especially if Democrats plan to vote against this nomination. Big questions as he meets the Republicans today. And then, of course, we'll have his confirmation hearings early next year.
All right, so Pete Hegseth will be the next person on deck, and we'll be here covering it. Here's what it sounded like when he addressed this in the halls of Congress.
I want to thank the President of the United States for this amazing, humbling opportunity to be nominated to be Department of Defense. It's an incredible opportunity to do not take lightly. I just want to thank the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, who spent the morning with me, meeting with senators of the United States. We take very seriously the advice and consent role that the U.S. Senate has. We look forward to engaging in that process. We take absolutely nothing for granted, and we welcome the opportunity to talk to any senator that wants to talk to us.
Did you sexually assault a woman in Monterey, California?
I have, as far as the media is concerned, I'll keep it very simple. The matter was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared, and that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you very much.
All right, but they don't care about that, Pete, so they're just going to keep digging and digging and digging, and they're going to turn something that is nothing into something, because that's what they do, and we'll be here covering it. Thank you for subscribing, my friends. Pete is next in the lineup, and so we'll see what happens as they target him next.